So you found a skeleton. How would you tell it's a dinosaur? You personally, how would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
Hey everybody, welcome to the new show, Tisdall Tuesday. I am here for, well, not the first time ever, but for the first time on a regular Tuesday show with Chesh. And yeah, there was a Jack was a professional right there because I put something in front of the intro video, so we'll take a drink for that, but that's okay.
Starting already, geez.
Yeah,
I didn't
know.
expect to be opening my drink this early.
You should just have it open right when we start. That's just the general rule.
I will do that next time.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, Dapper is a professional. It's true. So, guys, this is a new show. We've never done this before. This is Tisdall Tuesday. Now, Lawrence Tisdall is a Canadian young Earth creationist who seems to be running his own ministry that involves at least going to various churches to talk about young Earth creationism. And Chesh, you have a history with this man.
Bless his heart. He showed up at the church I went to in high school.
Aww.
Oh.
So, yeah, so we've got...
He was less gray then.
Well, I would imagine so. I mean, although, actually, aren't you still in high school? Because you're, like, what, 17, right? You're a senior.
But I don't do that anymore.
Oh, okay.
You can only stay there so long before it gets weird.
Yeah, I guess when like, your 3rd or 4th, 17th birthday came around, they were probably like, hey, can you leave? Please?
He kicked me out.
Aww.
So sad.
So, by the way, in case you guys don't know, we do have a super chat goal. If we get 30 of the teal super chats within the next, let's see, 1 hour, 57 minutes, and 14 seconds, Chesh gets to say the F-bomb as many times as she wants.
I will try to behave.
She's really bad at it. So, yeah, we are doing the normal Tuesday drink triggers, as well as the normal Tuesday. We've got the fan funding here. You know, if we get it high enough, then boom, Bent gets free pizza. Which, you know, given that he doesn't eat otherwise. Like, I haven't seen him eat in, I think, 3 or 4 days. So, like, you know, maybe help him out.
That's not good.
No, yeah, he's wasting away.
I've heard that eating is allegedly important.
I've heard that too. He might not even be here for the next Camp with Bent. He might just be a ghost if we don't get him free pizza. So, you know. So let's go over the drinking rules, and then we're going to dive into the Tisdall. And also, if you enjoy this show and you want to see more from me, hit subscribe here. And if you want to see more from Chesh, 2 of her channels are linked in the description. We've got both Chesh and Debate Hub, which I also appear on regularly, if infrequently.
Once a month. At the last Saturday of every month, Dapper is around. We're talking politics. So if you want to hear Dapper lose his mind about politics and about bees...
Sometimes bees, yeah. All right.
Bees.
So let's go over the drinking rules. First of all, if Lawrence says something that's just too stupid, and we kind of have to drink to cool our brains down a little bit, we will drink for that. If, on the other hand, he tells a joke that doesn't land or a story that didn't happen, we'll take a drink for that. That is a bit of a judgment call. We will also take a drink if he gets something right. Now, it can't just be something he's quoting from someone else. It actually has to be a thought from his own brain. We will also... That's important.
It's important.
Let's see. Peggy Jace, the ancient Sumerian geneticist, for $5 says, chipping in for Churlish Chesh. Thank you very much.
Free me. Free me from this PG nightmare.
Well, it's PG-13.
I'm wearing a Deadpool shirt.
That's okay.
That's appropriate.
I mean, you know, the term unalive was actually invented by Deadpool in an episode of one of the Spider-Man cartoons.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they weren't allowed to say kill because it was like a kids' TV thing. It was like, we'll go unalive them. And then Spider-Man's like, unalive? He's like, yeah, I'm on a kid's show. I can't say what I really mean. Like, what are you talking about? The first
time I ever heard epic being used as like a slang term for something awesome or cool was from a show from the 90s called Mummies Alive.
Interesting.
Which is weird because a lot of people were saying epic, but nobody seemed to remember the show.
Well, we also have a few other drink triggers. We will take a drink if Lawrence mixes up what we can know about Lucy, the single specimen, with what we can know about any wider taxon to which she belongs on the basis of, her skeleton. So if she's like, oh, we don't even know if Australopithecus had human-like or chimpanzee-like feet because Lucy wasn't found with feet. Yeah, well, guess what? Other Australopithecus have been found with feet. So yes, we do. So that's called an ad hominid. We only get one of those per stream because once it happens once, it usually just keeps on happening. We will also be taking a drink if Lawrence cites a source and we check that source. And not only does the source fail to support his claim, but it actively contradicts him, then we will take a drink, and that one is called Trojan Source. We'll also take a drink if either...
Great names.
Thank you. We will also take a drink if either Chesh or I can successfully predict what Lawrence is about to say before he says it when it's not terribly obvious. We will also take a drink if I screw up the production, which we've already done. Now, if it's actually someone else that is at fault, like if the power goes out or YouTube burns down or a meteor strikes and just wipes out all of Canada, those are all not my fault, and so we don't take a Dapper as a Professional drink for those. Yeah.
Natural disaster.
Yeah, I mean, as well as other more minor things, but that just aren't my fault. So, we will also take a drink if anyone super chats or memberships, milestone chats, anything with the kaiju emojis that we have. That's Godzilla, Ghidorah, and Mothra. You have to be a member for those. We will also
Mothra's my favorite.
Yes, well, I mean, she very well should be. Chesh, you should join us when we start watching the Godzilla movies once we're done with Power Rangers.
I will consider that.
Okay. I think we've got, 4 months left of Power Rangers. Because despite the fact
there's a lot of Power Rangers.
Yeah, we've already watched nearly 900 episodes, if not more.
There's a lot of Power Rangers,
yeah,
man.
there is. We've also watched several movies.
Mm-hmm.
Because there have been several Power Ranger movies. Anyway, you can also make us drink by gifting memberships. If you gift a membership, we take a drink. If you give 5 memberships, we take 5 drinks. If you give 10, we take 10. If you give, 50, I'm just going to finish my drink, add 50 to the drink counter, and then go get another drink. I'm not going to count out 50 drinks. Sorry. I just don't have the patience for that.
I can't count that high.
Right, you're just a goblin.
Mm.
So, goblins can't count past... generally they can't count past 20. But I've heard that some male goblins can count to 21 if they take their pants off.
Sometimes,
yeah. But they're not normally supposed to do that. That's supposed to be something they do on their own. Privately. So let's see. What am I missing? I will also take a drink for every super chat or membership milestone chat that mentions that Answers in Genesis or AIG are in fact a bag of dicks, because they are. Even though it's been a while since we covered them on any of the Tuesday streams, doesn't matter. They remain, in fact, a bag of dicks.
In perpetuity.
Yeah. They would the things they would have to do to stop me from using that are things that they're never going to do, so we don't have to worry about it. All right, and Reggio's for $5 says, "Mummy's alive. Been a while since I've heard that reference." See,
somebody knows what I'm talking about.
All right,
I'm gonna make that my own drink trigger. Somebody recognizes a reference that I've made that nobody ever knows. That's a me drink trigger.
Fair enough. All right, I am drinking rum and cola. What are you drinking there, Chesh?
I've got a beer. It's called Sleeman's. It's got a beaver as its logo. It's a local-ish craft beer. It's a lager. The brewery is in the next city over for me.
Ah, very Canadian.
Yeah. I also have some tea, but...
Well, okay. All right, so without any further ado, I think we are ready to dive into session 1. By the way, we've got 7 sessions that I already know about, so we've got enough fodder for years of this, Chesh.
Oh boy.
I don't know if you know what you were signing up for when you suggested this.
I honestly thought there were only 2 sessions available.
Oh, boy, were you wrong about that.
Oops.
Yeah. Zarna Rankar for 5 beaver bucks says, Chesh is trapped. Is this ransom money? Is this even ethical? Giving money to terrorists? Why? Why not? But I need Chesh free, so I guess I'll give in. Yes, in fact, every time we do this, which by the way, the plan is second Tuesdays of the month. Every time we do this, Chesh is in fact being held hostage to the money, and once the super chats come in, then she is freed to say the F-bomb. Because then we switch. Basically, it's like, if you give me enough super chats, I am willing to take the hit in the algorithm to go from PG-13 to R. Because that's actually what it's mostly about, is I don't want the hit in the algorithm, But on the other hand, don't want that because I want to make residual money on this. But if we make enough in super chats, I don't care that much. So like, here we go.
Science is
Creation
based
weekend.
on, you've all heard of hypothesis, right? Scientific hypothesis. You've heard.
Oh wait, hold on. We gotta ask when the creationists ask a question, I ask the question. Okay, so have you heard of scientific hypotheses? All right, Chesh, have you heard of scientific hypotheses? Are you aware of this as a concept?
Yeah, I think I'm aware of that as a concept.
Oh, cool.
Heard of theories, and you've heard of scientific laws. Now, unfortunately, some people think that you go from a hypothesis to a theory to a law. That would make sense, but that's not how it works.
Okay, good. He's right. That is not how it works.
Do we take a drink for him being correct?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Creationists love to get that wrong, so he is right about this. He's also a little quiet, but I've turned him up about as much as I can, so we'll see.
There are laws, like the law of gravity, thermodynamic laws, and things like this. They either support your theory or they don't. So it's like...
No, normally when you make a hypothesis or a theory, you make it on the basis of the various laws in the field, right? Like, you wouldn't propose a new theory that just violated the second law of thermodynamics, because everyone would just be like, no.
I mean, he's kind of, in a weird way, not totally wrong.
Yeah, I mean, they have to be compatible.
Yeah, so you don't, like, you have a theory and it either works with these laws or it doesn't. So if your idea doesn't work with the law, then the theory doesn't go anywhere. Like, the hypothesis doesn't... I don't know if he's just trying to say facts are established or if he's trying to throw incredulity at the laws.
We'll have to see. But in the meantime, Dutch, the Place of Hostilities Tunicate, says for $2, wow, he's not immediately wrong. That's a record. And then Fits of Mitochondrial Eve Rage gifted a Dapper Dinosaur membership, which means we take a drink. Thank you very much. Which, by the way, the gifted memberships is in fact the easiest way to get us to take multiple drinks. So if you want us to just be absolutely obliterated by the end of this, the answer is send super chats, but stagger them every once in a while so that I actually have to count out all the drinks.
You mean send memberships?
What did I say?
Super chats.
Oh, yeah, I meant memberships. Sorry. I'm a professional, but we're not drinking for it because it's not production related.
On its side. But they're very strong. I mean, if your theory goes against the law, you have a problem.
Well, unless you can actually show that the law unless you can show the law is invalid, which has happened.
Right.
Because just like everything else in science,
Technically, he's
laws
right.
are... Yeah, technically. But like everything else in science, laws are provisional. And they have boundary conditions outside of which they don't apply. And also, they can just be wrong. That's okay. Because remember, the highest form of evidence in science is going to be experiment. And if experiment disagrees with a previously established law, as long as other people can reproduce those experimental results, and they keep contradicting the law, well, too bad for the law.
Do we drink for him being right?
We already did.
Okay.
You're just thirsty.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay? Because laws are laws. In other words, they're things that we see all the time. In a particular environment, it always works out. Gravity always works, right?
Yeah, okay, we'll give him that one. We'll take another drink for that. He's right about what laws are.
Gravity always
go
works.
towards the center, right?
No, the more broad idea of, like, he knows what laws are, fundamentally.
That happens at the rapture, but God has like an anti-gravitational process.
Oh,
What?
well, that was dumb. I'm taking a drink. Hey, fun fact. Do you know where the rapture is in the Bible?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, sure, go for it. Do you know where the rapture is in the Bible?
Well, I believe that, do they not talk about it in Revelation, or
They do
does
not.
it get mentioned? It gets mentioned right before it, does it
No,
not?
it does not. It's nowhere in the
Where is
Bible. It's just made up.
They just made that up.
Yeah, they made it up in like the 18th or the 19th century. Like, it's a really recent thing that people made up. Terrador's final form, who's been a member for 37 months and is at the amniote level, says, in order to become a law, a bill has to be approved by both the House and the Senate and signed by the President. You're not even American, dude.
I'm just a bill, and I'm sitting on a Capitol Hill.
It's always weird to me when non-Americans chime in and do a very American thing. Wait a minute. Although, for all I know, maybe because I think Terrador's final form is in like Argentina, and maybe that's the same way it works there. I don't know. Like lots of countries did actually end up copying large sections of like how the U.S. Constitution works.
Oh, sure.
Which, given how it's currently going, maybe wasn't a great idea, and maybe if you're in one of those countries, you should reconsider that move.
If the Constitution isn't being upheld, then it's just lines on paper.
I mean, it was always lines on paper, just like the Bible. ONB Alpine Octopi and Mountain Sharks at Club Himalaya for $5. Someone's been watching a lot of my videos. Says, Ghidorah, we do not negotiate with terrorists. Supply them F-bomb with a Murphy. Thank you very much, and we will drink for the Ghidorah. Ambi Quantum Yiddish Z, who's been a member for 14 months, is at the Tetchbot level, says, voted no for the gag, but I'm the only one gagging. Oh, sorry. Let's actually see how we're doing on that. So we got 47 votes, which is a little bit over half of what we got currently viewing. So yeah, we'll just end it here. So that'll be the poll. We'll see how many. Have you heard of scientific hypotheses? Yes, 74%. No, 23%. Turtle was 23%. No was 2%. With 47 votes.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, so basically everyone has heard of this. Okay. Oh man, with the video file corruption and that weird smile, I do not like any of that.
Oh boy.
Maybe this guy should actually be a horror villain. That's his true calling.
Maybe he is.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. Maybe he's actually got like a whole tunnel under his house where he's got like all of his murder equipment and body disposal stuff. I don't know. I doubt it, but I can't prove it either way. ONB, Alpine Octopi, and Mountain Sharks at Club Himalaya for $2 says, deliver us from Millerite heresies, JW, LDS, and Seventh-day Adventists. Yeah.
Seventh-day Adventists. Ugh.
Man, the group I'm writing a script on now are like, they're basically every single least of my least favorite options in Christianity was shoved into one church. And I'm like, oh my god,
no.
It's like this denomination was created specifically to annoy me by its very existence.
Oh no.
Yeah, they're British. They believe in British Israelism, which is like the English are the real tribe of Judah, or some bullshit like that.
Oh god.
Yeah, it's a whole nightmare. I looked into it because I was like, I wonder who runs this channel. And yeah, I was like, oh, a group of Christians that are somehow designed in a lab specifically to annoy me.
Found this crazy like Action for Canada right-wing nationalist Christian group in Canada.
I don't think I did.
Oh, I covered them the other day, and I haven't gone through them yet, but I looked at some of their stuff, and I'm like, oh no, so I'll be diving that soon.
Lieutenant Matt the Navigator for $5 says, the Bible is just lines on paper written from left to right in the original Hebrew. Well, no, that would be from right to left in the original Hebrew. Because that's how Hebrew works, apparently. Oh, no, yeah. Oh, man. So, they don't do it so much anymore, but for a very long time, AIG, whenever they would have Hebrew text in some kind of graphic or something, would have it flipped upside down. Because when you flip Hebrew upside down, it looks like it's written from left to right. Because that's, like, the lines all line up on the left, and the lines on the right are all off, like, different locations. And
they're so weird.
It was so painful to look at. For anyone who knows even the first thing about Hebrew, like, if you can recognize Hebrew letters, you would look at them and just be like, oh
they're
my god.
So weird.
Yeah, it's
no, Canada also has crazy right-wing MAGA extremists. We call them Maple MAGA up here, and they're just like crazy authoritarian fascists. I mean, we had them during World War II. We're gonna have them now. Like, we'll just chase them out of our country again. Just make sure this time when we do that, don't pick one of them up and turn them into the richest man in the world.
I'll try not to. But also, there was in fact an actual Canadian Nazi party. That was a real thing.
Yeah. That existed.
Yep. Sapphire Science Nimby's line for $5 says, free the goblin, also loving the new layout. Mothra emoji here. Thank you very much. I will take a drink. I'm assuming you're on mobile, which means that basically they just don't let you use the emojis, which is really lame.
That's stupid.
It's very stupid. All right, here we go. Let's get away from this monster pause face because, whoo boy, The video corruption did not do him favors.
Yeah.
Then there are theories. So then you have a hypothesis. So you come up with ideas, and then you test the ideas, and you get to a hypothesis.
Okay, so it's a little bit more complicated than that. It's not like wrong, but the thing is, like, you get, the steps of the scientific method that you get in like high school. Those are okay for an overview for like a high schooler, but it's actually a much more complex thing, and like you don't have to do these steps in some particular set order. Basically, as soon as you have a testable idea, you have a hypothesis, right? Doesn't matter if you did like the observation and then you're going to do the
doesn't matter
experiment
if you
later,
have the funding.
like whatever. If you have a testable idea, you have a hypothesis, go test it. Terrador's final form for 200 Argentinian pesos. Is it pesos? I think it's pesos. I once met a black Israelite who believed that all the Bible stories happened in sub-Saharan Africa. The 12 tribes are the people from the former
United States.
Yes, that's hard for me to read. And Mayans are the real Hebrews, all at the same time. Yeah, that's actually a pretty typical for the Black Hebrew Israelite movement. And I mean, from a scientific standpoint, they're just wrong. Yeah. Look, Black Hebrew Israelism is a whole complex thing that involves a lot of interplay about things like race dynamics in the United States, as well as like anti-Semitism, and there's even a little bit of like
lot of
weird
crazy
Islam
ideas
stuff
there.
going on. Yeah, it's a whole complicated thing. I'm probably not going to ever cover it because, oh boy, is it a lot. Kent, the bacteria kind Halstead for $4.99 says, mobile YouTuber users, share your energy with me. Yeah, the YouTube mobile is, it could use some improvement. Like the fact
it
that
needs a little bit of love.
yeah, like specifically the chat feature. Like it's almost impossible to tag people. It's basically impossible to use emojis.
They've implemented like, you know how you have the community post? They've implemented so that people that like subscribe to your channel can post. It's in beta right now. I just got it. I don't know if you have it yet or not.
Wait, so just anyone who subscribes to my channel can just post on my community
I
tab?
don't know if it's subscribers or members yet because it's just in beta, but I don't like, I can't even find where people are supposed to post yet.
Oh, weird.
But it showed up on in my YouTube studio and I was like, oh god, what is this cursed piece of thing? And of course I immediately turned it on.
Obviously. Lieutenant Math Navigator for $5 says, but what if I test my idea and it turns out to be utter nonsense, but I have emotional attachment to my idea? That's all fine. You still don't get to have your idea be science in that case.
I guess you get to be upset for a little while until you get over it.
Yeah. Or you can tweak the idea until it actually is viable. That's another option. All right, and we're already at 10%. Look at that. 10% to Fancy Avatar, by the way. Bent gets free pizza is only at 90%. That's where
We're also
happens.
we're also one away from 3.33 or 33.3333%.
You can just say a third. It's fine. We're almost a third. Oh, here we are. We're a third of the way there now. After Zar Narankar for $5 says, if we send enough super chats, do you think we can prevent the video from happening? Probably, but also Chesh is almost a third free. Gabo Freedom. And actually, the answer is yes. If super chats come in fast enough, I will not be able to start the video back up. So, like,
True.
It's a viable option. If all you want to hear is me and Chesh just, like, BSing, if you send enough super chats, it will technically happen. Not by design, but just because that's what happens. Anyway, you failed so far.
Organically.
Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to hypothesize about these two spheres. Now, I call them spheres because many years ago I was giving a talk to 150 youth in a Presbyterian church, youth. And
I hope that wasn't me.
I used to...
He called them balls and all the kids chuckled. That's what happened.
I mean, that's what kids do.
Yeah.
I don't think that was me.
Were you at a Presbyterian church?
When he was there, I don't recall. I'm pretty sure I was at my own church at the time, which was Pentecostal. But I also went to like youth group events at other churches.
Oh,
so
okay.
It's not impossible, but I don't think so.
Okay, but it definitely wasn't at this event that he's talking about, where the kids snickered at the balls in the Presbyterian church, wouldn't have been at the church you were going to, but it might have been in a
Correct.
church you were at on that day.
Yeah, as
Okay.
possible. Yeah.
My unfinished journey for $6.66 says, "Hail Nero, Daps, and Chesh, and hail weirdos who get everything wrong all at once with a popcorn emoji. Thank you very much." And indeed, hail. And here is, let me update that. We're at 13%.
Call them the black balls. And what I'll do is I'll
You call them black balls? That's even, oh my goodness, dude.
start passing them around, and you'll look at them and analyze them. And after 45 minutes, they hadn't come back. So I glibly said to 150 teenagers, "Who's got my balls?" And so now I don't call them balls anymore. I call them spheres.
But instead, you just tell the joke anyway? Okay, sure.
Yeah, why wouldn't you just
Yeah,
own the joke? It's fine.
yeah, like either own the joke and call them balls, or don't own the joke and then just don't tell the story and just call them your spheres. So like who, whatever. You know what? It's fine. Vulyol for $2 says, "Hope you enjoy keeping. Hope you enjoy keeping in your spare time."
Keeping what?
Yeah, I'm not sure what that means, but I thank you. I do appreciate it. All right, here we go.
So there's no confusion in case I want to find out where they are again. All right. So now one of them has a little white dot. Used to be a bigger one, but it's sort of worn off. Has a little white dot. In fact, that's...
Pro tip: you can repaint things.
And one of them's maybe a little bit bigger now. They both are black spheres, but one of them has a little bit of a white dot, okay?
That just broke Chesh. I don't know if anyone noticed.
Can we get to the point, dude?
No.
The question we're going to ask is, which one will bounce the highest when we test it? Okay, that's the question. Now, that means I don't want you to bounce it. We're going to all do it together at the end. All right? It's very important for it to say a hypothesis. You're not going to test it. Do you promise? Everybody promise? Not going to test it? Good.
I don't. I would test the crap out of that. I'm sorry. If you hand me a ball and you're like, "This is going to be a bouncy ball," the chances of me not trying to bounce it are 0. I will bounce the ball. I don't care.
Boink.
Yeah. The only way, if you tell me that this is going to be a bouncy ball, the only way for me not to bounce it is if you just don't give it to me. That's
Yeah,
it.
that's fair.
Yeah. This is just a PSA for anyone who is ever like, "Oh man, I should do a bouncy ball test with Dapper." I will test it immediately. Like,
I will bounce that ball.
yeah, like that's just what's going to happen.
What do scientists bring from themselves to do science?
That is a really weird question, and I don't even know what kind of question he's like. What kind of answer is he looking for? Like notebooks, their observational skills, their brain. Like what are we even? I don't know.
Experience and knowledge.
Yeah, all of these seem like good answers, but obviously he's looking for one specific answer. That's one of my least favorite things.
Is he looking for the word belief?
Maybe he might be looking for worldview.
Their worldview?
Yeah, probably worldview. But this is one of my least favorite like kinds of things that speakers do. Is they'll ask some broad question that could have like 8 different kinds of answers, and then they'll keep saying no when people give them answers until someone gives their like super specific nonsense answer that they were looking for. It's like, okay, but all of those are valid. Either ask a specific question or just tell us.
Yeah, just get to the point.
Right. Jacqueline Udhoff, who's been a member for 18 months and is at the Tetrapod level, says, "Cheers from Canada with a Mothra." This is a very Canadian stream going on right now. I feel like I should be drinking some Canadian whiskey instead of American rum.
Probably.
Yeah.
We'll know for next time.
Well, Canadian whiskey is actually kind of expensive right now. I don't know if you know.
I mean, yeah, that would make sense.
Ambi Quantum Yiddish Z for $5 says, "My hypothesis, Lawrence balls will not teach us much of anything with 3 Godzilla emojis and we will drink." And I tend to find that, except for very specific questions, balls are not normally very informative.
Maybe if you're in the medical field.
Well, like I said, there are
Under
specific
certain circumstances.
except for certain specific questions, and that's mostly what I was thinking of was medical questions.
Mm-hmm.
Vulyol for $2 says, "Kerning, dang autocorrect."
I see.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know if I've ever enjoyed kerning. It's basically a curse. Terrador's final form for 200 Argentine pesos says his big black bouncy asymmetrical balls have a white spot on them. I'd check with a doctor. Yeah. If you start finding that your balls have spots on them, it might be time to see a doctor.
You also probably shouldn't hand your balls to teenagers.
Generally, no. That's a really bad idea for multiple reasons, many of which are legal.
Generally, not a good idea.
No. Yeah, not a great idea. Actually, Anka, who's been a member for 2 months and is at the tetrapod level, says AIG is a tote of troublingly transphobic twits. You know what? I don't think it technically counts, but I'm going to drink for it anyway, because they are absolutely gigantic transphobes. I accidentally watched an episode.
We drink in solidarity. Happy Pride Month.
I accidentally watched an episode of Answers News because I didn't look at what the channel was, and I just saw like the title, and I was like, okay, I'll find out what the answer to this question is. And then it's like, welcome to Answers News. Our first story is how much we hate trans people. And I'm like, oh my god.
Oh.
Yeah. Goop23 for... Oh, wait, no, sorry, I'm skipping. Grungavaldi Gurnison, who's been a member for 16 months and is at the annual level, says, to quote Sir Integra Helsing, is there a rest stop between here and the effing point with a Ghidorah and we'll take a drink? Probably not.
Hey.
Goop23 for $2 says, has anyone done AIG as a bag of balls yet? Nope, but you just have, so here's a drink.
Hey.
And then Terrador's final form for 200 Argentinian pesos says, do you think that when Vader asked for the rebel scum, it was a Tuali
a kerning issue?
Yeah. Except that that's his kemming, not kerning.
Oh, kemming, yeah.
Yeah, but it's supposed to be kerning with bad kerning.
Yeah. I get it. Very funny. Very funny.
Zarnarenkar for 5 beaver bucks says, if he wants no one to test his hypothesis, he wants only no... I'm going to start over. I'm going to get this. He wants no one... This is you. You're infecting me with this. He wants no one to test his hypothesis. Only he can. Sounds about right for a religious nut, especially if the religious nut uses his nuts. Nice. All right, and we're halfway to a free
Insert
Chesh.
nut joke here.
Oh yeah. The greatest thing is I don't do a lot of D's nuts jokes, but every once in a while when I'm talking to Vishanti, it'll come up and it'll just be perfect, and she never sees it coming because I do it so rarely. She's like, "Oh my god, you got it!" I was like, yep." Doesn't happen a lot. Every once in a while.
Wonderful.
Ideas, magic. Okay, but what else? What's more physical realm? Observation. How do we observe?
He looks like John Travolta.
He does kind of look. Yeah. Yep. You know what? We got to clip this bit out of this video. Like, cut him out carefully with a green background so other people can use it.
So he's just like...
Yeah, he can be our replacement. The John
yes.
Travolta meme.
That would be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, the senses. So what are the senses? How do we have... that's not senses. You're closer here. Eyes?
By the way, in case anyone was wondering, it does seem like he's in England giving this talk. Because later on, towards the end, there will be like a Q&A. And people have English accents. And also, he frequently references that he's not in Canada during this. Like, during the whole series. So I think that he took a trip to a church out in England. It's clearly not a Church of England church, obviously. So it's probably like some...
He's doing the Ken Ham thing where he just travels around and does talks.
Yeah. Which,
and then sells his DVDs or whatever.
Yeah, by the way, we don't normally stick around for commercial stuff. Once they start hawking their wares, I'm out. That's it.
Eyes? What else? Touch? Ears? Hearing?
Sometimes you can lick the science. It's true.
Taste the rainbow.
Yeah, especially in geology. A lot of times you gotta taste the geology.
Instead of the sound of silence, it's the sound of science.
Yeah. So like you can actually classify many sciences into the like can you lick the science categories. And there's no.
Oh, yeah.
No is usually stuff like astronomy, particle physics, stuff like that. There's yes, which is often things like food science, geology. And there's like sometimes there's like biology, where like sometimes you can lick the science, sometimes you can't lick the science.
Maybe don't always eat the mushrooms.
Yeah, or like lick the polar bear. They probably that won't go well.
Smell, taste. Okay, God's given us a way of discovering his creation. For the benefits of everybody, I would suggest not tasting these, but you can use the you can use your other 4 senses to try to figure out your hypothesis of which is going to bounce the highest when we test it, okay? And we'll do this while I'm talking. So you just pass it around, sir, and eventually it'll end up hopefully back here
At least he's not just going to stand there
whoever gets it
awkwardly
back-
while he waits for his balls to make their way around the room.
Yeah. Also, why isn't he just on the stage?
I don't
Weird.
know. I have no idea. Maybe because he needed to hand them the balls.
I mean, I guess, but like at least there, everyone would have a better line of sight to him.
Well, maybe he's going to go up now that he's done handing his balls out.
Okay. Let's see. Lieutenant Matt the Navigator for $5 says, I have seen approximately 37% of Battlefield Earth. I am more confused about his point than by that movie. Oh, man. Did you know that, so when that movie came out,
John Travolta.
Scientology orgs sent out Sea Org members with money to go buy a ticket, not for snacks and food, though, just to buy a ticket to go watch that movie over and over and over again in order to artificially boost the ticket sales, and it still flopped hard because it turns out there actually aren't that many Sea Org members even then when it came out, and there's far fewer now.
I kind of thought the movie was funny.
It's funny, but it's funny in the ways that Hollywood doesn't want it to be funny, right?
Yeah. I like those kinds of movies, but
Also-
Hollywood doesn't make movies for me. I get that.
That's fair. I do feel like, though, I think I could improve that movie by about 10% by just turning all the Dutch angle shots into just regular old flat angle shots.
I don't know. That's one of the things that I really enjoyed is that every time the aliens are on screen, they're at a Dutch angle. It's
It's
great.
not just the aliens, though. There's scenes when it's just like, what's his face, and they're still at Dutch angles.
If it's just the guys and has nothing to do with the aliens, then yeah, don't Dutch angle it, and then just only have aliens be Dutch angled. That'd be good.
Okay. Well, it sounds like
That'd
what
be
we
a
really
good
need to do is make our own cut.
just
Battlefield
fix
Earth.
it, just reorient the camera.
Dutch the Place Fossilius Tunicate says, some sciences like physics, the answer is how? Well, it depends on which branch of physics, right? Like if you're doing like mechanics, then like, yeah, you can do that. Terrador's final form for 200 Argentinian peso says, just because Chesh will love this, I used to have a theology professor from Spain. The Iberian word for to grab means to F in most of most of Latin America. So every time he, I think that's supposed to be asked, I don't know, grab your Bibles, he'd have to go back and find a synonym. Nice. Nice.
That is funny. I like that.
Zarna Renkar for 5 beaver bucks says, please, no one taste the balls. Please, do not taste them. Bad. Do not, no! Don't taste those balls.
Don't you put them in your mouth. Don't you put them in your mouth till you ask someone you love.
I'm just going to go out there and say that people don't taste Lawrence Tisdall's balls. Just don't do it. You don't know where those have been. You don't know who else might have tasted them. Probably no one, but you don't know. Lieutenant Matt the Navigator for $5 says, I could improve that movie by using nothing but the original film and a large magnet. Oh, all right.
There, bring it up to the front to the gentleman here. All right.
Yeah,
and
see,
remind me
there
at
you
the
go.
end to
Do
do
I
this
get a
talk to
drink
do
for
this.
prediction?
Yeah, oh yeah, actually, technically, yeah, we will. Yeah.
Yeah.
Testing, okay? Don't forget, we'll do the test. All right, a debate is a formal discussion on a particular topic in a public meeting or legislative assembly in which opposing arguments are put forward.
Wow, thanks, the dictionary. It's literally cited
I don't think
to Merriam-Webster.
right because it's just reading it off.
yeah. No, we're not drinking for getting it right because it's just literally, it's even just citing the dictionary. It's like, why are you doing this? But okay.
And so, yeah, this is evidence for creation. So what this is showing here is that
apparently the dictionary definition for
the definition of debate is evidence for creation.
We'll take a drink. That's incredibly dumb.
That's very dumb.
they're both, we're both dealing with the same evidence.
No, we're not. Okay. Creationists love to say that we have the same evidence, but we have different worldviews. But here's the problem, right? Friends of the channel, RJ Downard and Jackson Wheat, wrote a book. It's called The Rocks Were There. In that, they went through a huge number of creationist arguments, of creationists dealing with various parts of science and whatnot. And they went through and they looked at how much of the actual relevant data field to a particular question that a young Earth creationist is addressing do the young Earth creationists actually deal with? And the answer is generally about 10%.
Mm-hmm.
They tend to ignore the other 90% of all the data in any given field in which they are involved. Which means that no, creationists have not the same information, not the same evidence. They have about 10% of the evidence that they think least contradicts them. That's not how science works. Now, I'm not saying that you have to read every single paper on any given topic in order to do some science about it. But you need to do an actual literature survey, and you need to know what the state of the field is, why it is what it is, which papers got it to that point. You need to know those things. Creationists studiously avoid all of that because they don't want to know any of those things, because those things are inconvenient, because the evidence is inconvenient for creationists. So anytime a creationist says, oh, we have the same data, just different interpretations, that statement is a lie. The creationists might not know that it's a lie. So I wouldn't necessarily accuse them of lying because they said it. But the statement itself is untrue.
Yeah.
Also, I have this guy on like 125%. He's still kind of quiet.
We both have the same fossils.
Oh, wait. Hoop23 for $2 says, starting my first kintsugi project. Wish me luck. I am not sure what that is, but good luck.
I don't know what that is.
Assuming that that is not going to be hurting other people.
Who got this?
Good luck. I believe in you. It could be so much of anything. Like, I don't even know. Like, that could be Goop23, like, oh, I started building my own guillotine. I'm like, oh, that's weird. But good luck. Or it could be like, oh, I just started like a new fancy kind of like, I don't know, Japanese knitting. Like, I have no idea. Goop23, tag me and let me know what that is so that I have an idea. Because who knows, maybe I want to start my first kintsugi project. Maybe it's something I want to, I don't know. Lieutenant Math Navigator for $5 says, creationists have lost information, TM, so they're devolving? Yes. That's what I'm going to go with. They are, in fact,
Here's
devolving.
the thing. Just because you have access to information doesn't mean you inherently know how to interpret that information.
Also very
or
true.
utilize it in any real meaningful way.
Oh, it's gold repairing broken stuff. Oh, okay, yeah. Like where you have like some broken pottery and then you fill it in with like little bits of gold.
Oh,
to
that's
join
cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yep.
Good luck. Have fun.
Yeah, I would like to do that, but I don't know if I actually want to do what it would take to get like the setup for that. It's very cool.
But we're coming to different conclusions. So how are we going to work that? Because
He's just actually using the AIG art, but he took the saturation all the way down. That's so lazy. Dude.
Does it count? Does he get points for stealing from AIG?
I don't know, man.
Pay those people.
Yeah, but also like, look, he doesn't actually even bother to put in that it's Dan Letha who drew this. Like, he's not even citing Dan Letha as the artist. There's an obvious speech bubble by the evolution guy that he cut off. Like, come on, man. Yeah. Also, I had previously
Stealing
said
is against the rules.
Yeah.
It says so in the Bible.
I had previously said, like, I'm pretty sure this guy's French Canadian because, like, he talks about English not being his first language. And look at the top. L'Association de Sciences de Créationnistes du Québec. So yeah, he's a French Canadian. Guy's Québécois.
Yeah.
Might be related to my family. Gross.
Ooh, that would be fun.
No, it wouldn't.
We're only 10 away from me being unleashed, by the way, and we're not even at 15 drinks yet.
It's true. We could drink more.
obviously it's not just based on the evidence. The evidence is the same for both of us.
It's really not, though.
Now let me explain what evolution is. And I'm
good.
going to be blocking someone here. I don't know how far over. Maybe I should move over a bit further. Let me just try moving. And if someone could get me some water, I would really appreciate it. It would be very kind. Okay. Evolution. All life on Earth is descended from a last universal common ancestor.
Okay, first of all, accurate. We'll take a drink. Second, I realized I skipped over the if Godzilla or Mothra come by audibly, we take a drink. So that's a Dapper's a professional drink, so we'll take another drink on that.
Oh, I didn't hear them.
They didn't come in. I'm just saying I forgot to talk about that drink trigger.
Oh, so drink for dappers are professional.
They call Luca. Now that is just right now being put into question, but that's what
It's not. There is absolutely no serious
Just
contention
right now.
that Luca isn't a thing, right? Because what that would mean is that there are, in fact, at least two groups of living things on Earth that do not share common ancestry with each other as living things. And by that, I mean, by living thing in this case, I mean cellular life. So, like, we're not counting viruses, we're not counting prions, we're not counting viroids, whatever. Those guys, something else. But in terms of cellular life, there is no serious scientific debate over whether or not there was a last universal common ancestor for cellular life. Like, there just isn't. All the evidence points to that being a thing. Let's see. Kent, the bacteria kind Hull said for $4.99 says, stock pottery break sound effect. You know what? I feel like that Link should be like the primary provider of the broken pottery for people who are repairing the pottery, right? Like, it's a symbiotic relationship right there.
Yeah.
Like, we have one group of people who hide their little crystal rupees in pots. We have Link who comes by and destroys those pots and steals their rupees for some reason, and no one seems to be upset about that. And then,
Even when his purse is full and he can't carry any more money.
Yep, he'll still keep taking them. And then we have the last group of people who don't appear much in the games, but they're the ones who fix the pottery. Let's see. Terrador's final form for 100 Argentinian pesos says French and Canadian, so God punished him twice?
I was laughing at that earlier while you were talking. Very funny.
Oh, I should be offended on behalf of part of my adopted human family.
I mean, I don't hate Quebec, but it is a funny joke.
It's the only Canadian province I've been to more than once.
Oh.
Yeah. I think I've been there 3 or 4 times. See,
I just like that. If you want to hear Dapper talk about politics, again, last Saturday of the month over on Debate Pub on Debate Hub Official. But Trump pissed off Canada so bad that it made the Quebecois so mad that they started identifying as Canadian.
Yeah, which is, if you know anything about the Quebecois, that's not a normal thing for them to do.
It is not normal.
No, it's not. Yeah, so I went to Quebec so many times because, like, I used to be able to hop onto a train and then just hop off in Montreal. I mean, there was a quick custom search in the middle of that, but, like, I didn't have to get up for that. Yeah. I could just stay sitting in my seat on the train, and a customs official would come by, check my ID, check my luggage, and then leave. And then I would just continue on the train, and then I would arrive in Montreal, and there you go.
Once upon a time.
Mm-hmm. I mean, technically that train still runs. It's just that the border crossing is significantly more involved now.
And also an absolute nightmare show right now.
Well, yeah, especially right now. But so my unfinished kerning sock for $5 says, "Don't taste Tisdall's bitty bouncy balls. Like and share the stream instead too." Yeah, actually that's true. He does have those were very small balls.
You can like these nuts.
And Rail Gatubello says, "Alors, réponse en jeunesse est un sac de bite." And I will take a drink. Thank you very much.
Hey. So apparently the bot for YouTube doesn't recognize French. So if you want to say anything, say it in French.
It also doesn't seem to recognize Spanish, which is weird. Like, I got an ad in Spanish today. Like, YouTube knows about Spanish.
Yeah, I get ads in French.
Yeah, I get ads mostly in Spanish and English if I'm on YouTube watching ads.
I love trains. Trains are great. More trains, please.
Have I had any French language ads? I don't think so.
I don't know, but if you want to know something crazy, I haven't seen an ad for any, like, American things in months. I've seen ads for Australia. I've seen ads for, like, pay apps in the Philippines. Weird. I have not seen a single ad for anything American besides, like, McDonald's, but that barely counts. In months.
I would actually say it super counts because McDonald's is like a symbol of American hegemony worldwide.
Yes, however, with the way that the businesses work in Canada versus America, they're the same parent company, but they operate as the Canadian McDonald's and the American McDonald's. This is why Blockbuster in Canada went out of business, even though Blockbuster was doing really, really well in Canada, right? Blockbuster was doing great, but it went bankrupt because the one in America got bankrupt. So the Canadian one got all of the debt from the American one and then went bankrupt. So like it couldn't incur all of the debt. So it's the same kind of thing. And plus all the product is all Canadian for the most part. They use like Canadian and potatoes and all that stuff. So it's like, it's one of those things, like it's not as good as Wendy's, but it is doing that thing where it's like still supporting local, and they have the Tim Hortons coffee recipe. So like people are like, are you Canadian? They're not Canadian.
If we get 100,000 in super chats tonight, I will start a Canadian McDonald's franchise. That's my promise to you. I will start a franchise of McDonald's in Canada. If we get 100,000 in super chats, we're currently 2 orders of magnitude from that. So like, 3 orders of magnitude. Yeah, 3. So like, I don't know. If you want to see me run a Canadian,
if I get YouTube rich, I'm gonna open a store.
Yeah, is it gonna be a McDonald's?
No.
We'll have an attached McDonald's.
Only if it's yours.
Okay. Well, there we go. Okay, Terrador's final form for 200 Argentinian pesos says, I just realized Uruguay is our Canada. They're nicer, follow the rules, their economy and politics are a lot less messy, and we keep calling them our 24th province. Oh, no.
Stop!
Let's see. Dutch, the place of hostilities, Tunicate for $2 says, C'est vrai, putain, et vous êtes un sac de bite.
And then there were 6.
Indeed, and we will take a drink. And I need to update the counter just a little bit here. And we're going to hit play.
That's the official description. That lived approximately 3.8 billion years ago.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's also being changed now. But anyway.
Okay, when he says that's also being changed, what he means is that our estimates are being updated because we have better data. That's what that means, right?
That's not what he means, but that is the truth.
Well, yeah, that's the truth, right? Right. It's sort of like when Young Earth creationists complain, like, well, first they said that the universe was about 20 billion years old, and now they're saying it's like 13.8 billion years old. What happened? And the answer is, our margins of error got smaller, and our current estimate is still within the error margin of the previous estimate. It's just that where the middle of that is has changed. So if you're reporting it without the error bars, you report a different number. I don't know what to tell you. That's just how science and measurement works.
It's almost like when you have all of the same data, you're not necessarily going to come to the same conclusion if you don't know how to interpret the data.
Yeah. I mean, it's like if someone's like, well, how long is the drive from here to there? And you're like, I don't know, it's like 80 kilometers. Then someone comes back and they're like, actually, it's 72.3 kilometers, you idiot. What? And
then somebody else is like, I don't know, about an hour and a half.
Yeah, like... these can all be accurate answers. They don't actually have to contradict. Rail Gatubelos for $2 says, to be fair, Brazil called dibs on Uruguay first. It can be a war over Uruguay. Please don't do that. We don't need any more wars right now. Don't. There's plenty. We have enough. The planet is full. No more room for wars.
Evolutionary processes give rise to diversity at every level of biological organization, including species, individual organisms, molecules such as DNA and proteins. Okay, here's a key to this situation. When people talk about, I heard a talk by Stephen Gould at McGill University, where he, thank you very much, where he talked about evolution, and he talked about the evolution of history, he talked about the evolution of a basketball team, he talked about the evolution of dogs, and then he talked about the evolution of the Cambrian...
But not dance?
No,
I would want my money back if I heard that many kinds of evolution, but dance wasn't in there.
Yeah. Lots of things evolve. Lots of things change over time and are adapted from prior existing things. That's not new.
Yeah. Nor is it controversial. Kent the Bacteria Kind Halstead for $4.99 says, I was hoping for at least 2 VTubers today. I mean,
do I need to turn my goblin face on?
Well, I think technically you're in a human suit, like I sometimes am.
Yeah, I'm wearing my human suit.
Yeah, it's still very short. Yeah,
yes.
Like you're.
I didn't want to squish myself or like try to make something too big, like a giant mech.
Yeah, no one wants that.
fauna, and that's from single cell to trilobites. And
everything else, but sure, okay, whatever.
Single cell to trilobites.
I mean, like, yeah, okay, that's one line of evolution, but like you're in the same set of lines up until a certain point there, buddy. Lieutenant,
I think he's just trying to give, like, there's a wide range that's being included, but that was a weird way to say it.
Yeah. Lieutenant Matt the Navigator for $5 says, this must be what it felt like as a British shipyard owner watching all of South America order shiny new dreadnoughts. All right, let me update. All right. Actually, I was gonna say, are we gonna get halfway to Bent Gets Free Pizza, but not by the midway point of the show? So
the thing is that each definition of evolution is different.
Yeah, and we're here to talk about the biological one, dude. So who gives a crap about the evolution of cars or dance or whatever? Everyone,
This is just yes and.
yeah, everyone knows that the word evolution applies to more than one thing. But when you say evolution versus creation or biological evolution, or you're going to say we're going to give a science talk about evolution, everyone knows that you mean the biological kind. So let's just focus on it. I'm taking a drink. This is infuriating. This is all Chesh's fault, by the way. Everything that's happening right now, Chesh's fault.
I'm not even mad yet. It's been too cringy so far.
Plus, you've had some excuse to drink beer. That helps.
That does cheer me up, yes.
Yeah. Remember, if you want us to really get wasted, it's the membership gifting that really does it.
I got one other beer in the fridge for today, but I will put another one in.
I mean, didn't you just get him as a 6-pack?
No, I got a 24 case.
Oh, okay, fine. That's a good reason not to have all of them in the fridge.
Yeah.
So do I agree that there could be evolution of a basketball team? Of course.
Yeah, no one cares.
There can be a progression.
Okay.
Do I believe that there's
Oh my
evolution
god.
within dog species? Sort of. I call it adaptation.
Well, that's dumb, so let's take a drink, because calling it something other than evolution doesn't make it not evolution. Did you have a population whose alleles changed in frequency over time across generations? Yes? Well, then guess what? It's evolution. I don't care if you want to call it something else. That's what evolution is, at a minimum.
If you want to call a rock something else than a rock, it doesn't make it not a rock.
Yeah. Like if you want to call it an atheist or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we could call it microevolution.
Okay, sure.
Do I believe frogs can become princes in 150 years? No.
Great. No one else does either.
Yeah, that's not even the fairy tale.
Yeah. That's
not
neither,
even how the story
that's
goes.
neither how the story goes, nor is it how evolution goes. Joshua,
It also seems to be implied that if enough time he would have died as a frog within the normal lifespan of a frog.
yeah, frogs don't normally live that long. That's generally
Does he
speaking.
think the frog would have magically lived 1,000 years? And then curses sometimes wear out. It might have stopped being. He might have.
Maybe the curse was also an immortality spell. Maybe that's what's actually up.
Could be.
We get a couple super
You
chats
get
here.
immortality, but you are a frog.
I mean, yeah. Joshua Geese for $5 says, for beers and swears. And then Zarna Renkar for $5 says, no one wants a goblin in a mech. No one. Not even the goblin. Because the goblin would panic too much if they make a mistake, and no one wants that. And that's probably true. They're too emotional to run a mech. That's what I've heard.
You need an overly confident goblin.
Actually, I like the 40k lore behind Killicans, which is basically a mech piloted by the 40k equivalent of a goblin that's actually sealed inside. And it actually does kind of panic, but in doing so, they tend to aim it towards the enemy, so it just runs headlong into enemy forces with like buzzsaws on its arms wheeling and like guns going off randomly.
I feel like the word piloting might be a bit of a stretch there, though.
Well, I mean, it's strapped into the command seat, and it has a bunch of controls that it just jerks around in a panic that then results in gunfire and buzzsaw swinging. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're generally sealed in because, like, no one expects them to actually make it through the battle. So, like,
Yeah.
who cares?
Yeah.
I don't think you can buy it anymore, but there was also a model at one point for a Grot rocket, which is just a goblin strapped into a missile with a control stick so that it can guide the missile a little bit. And basically, they're so excited to be going so fast and to be flying that they don't seem to notice that they're about to blow up. So they just pilot themselves directly into enemy lines.
That's very on brand.
Yeah. Lieutenant Matt the Navigator for $5 says, with a frog a day is like 1,000. Oh, with a frog, a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is like a day. Okay, got the intonation right there. The Bible illusion. Maybe that's what he's going for. Maybe frogs are actually God.
We are one away from being unleashed.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, so that's when I'm talking about evolution. There's a difference because he talks about species, individual organisms, and then all of a sudden he's down to DNA and proteins.
Yeah, those are the different levels that he was talking about, like you just said.
You know, it would have made more sense if you. It would have made more sense if he started with, instead of saying, well, then he goes into like biological and species, and then DNA. You should have gone from things that were not organic to things that are organic, not species to DNA, because that's still all biology.
Yeah. Also, how does he think that, like, so he's okay with evolution at the species level. How do you think species are differ from each other if you don't think it involves DNA and proteins? That's what I would like to know. Because he's like, oh yeah, different species evolving? Yeah, that's fine. But DNA and proteins...
Does that not just turn into special pleading?
It's not even that, right? Because that's like a part of it, right? It's like saying, oh, I think a baker can make different kinds of breads. But like using different amounts of wheat and different kinds of wheat and salt and water and what? No, they can't do that. They can't vary that. Well, then how did they make the different kinds of bread? That's what it means for a bread to be a different kind of bread. You use different ingredients and different amounts.
Bread.
Jason Hyatt
and some of the bread is beer.
Jason Hyatt, for $5 Canadian says, "Free the F-bomb goblin," which does in fact do it. Chesh, would you like to give the stream its inaugural F-bomb before we take our break? Okay. Cheating on the drinking rules. I see how it is. There it is. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to refill my drink here because even though we're only at 20 drinks, I've been having reasonably substantial ones. So we will be back.
Reasonably substantial.
Yeah, reasonably. So we will be back. I will have a fresh drink. You guys can take this as a time to go grab, a drink, a snack, whatever. In the meantime, you're going to listen to the musical stylings of one Beethoven. So we'll be back in just a little bit. We are back. Hello, everybody. Chesh has a hat now.
Got my Canadian hat out.
Yeah.
And my Deadpool shirt on to represent the Canadian. I want to get a Canadian flag, but you would never see it because it's be on that side.
Okay. Wait. Don't you also need a Wolverine shirt? Because he's also Canadian.
Do I have a Wolverine shirt?
Also a Sabretooth shirt. Because also
Superman,
Canadian.
Batman, flag. I got a lot of DC ones. I don't
Okay.
think I have a Wolverine shirt. I should get a Wolverine shirt.
Who's
What I do need is more flannel. I do not have
yeah.
enough flannel.
Who's a Canadian DC superhero? Can't think.
The DC doesn't use real life places.
They use real life countries though.
That's true.
Like Superman is definitely from the United States of America. Why he fights for truth, freedom, and the freedom, justice, and the American way, or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, like they use real countries. They don't use real cities, which is weird, and I don't like it much.
I mean, Beast Boy is northern, but I don't know if they say he's from a different country.
Maybe in DC, Canada is already the 51st state. Hence, the Bacteria Kind Halstead for $4.99 says, got an SBL study Bible today. Love it so far. I am a little bit jealous. I have a fair few Bibles, but that is not one of the ones I have. All right, while Chesh is looking up Canadian DC heroes. Oh, wait, we got one?
So there's Equinox Freight Train, who's part of the Batman's Outsider team, supposedly Booster Gold and Deathstroke, but not Slade, the one of the allies that uses his name.
Oh, okay.
Supposedly.
Well, of those, I've heard of Deathstroke.
Sasquatch, Deadpool, Guardian, Shaman, Wolverine.
Yeah, now we're in
Yukon
Marvel.
Jack. These are just regular superheroes. None of these are DC specifically.
All right. Rail got $2 for $2 says Wolverine and Deadpool's powers are Canadian Medicare. All right, so in case anyone doesn't already know, this channel is almost entirely supported directly through the generosity of my fans. That's you in the audience, whether it be through your super chats, your super stickers, your memberships, any of that stuff. So if you are enjoying what we do here, if you like any of my other shows, my scripted stuff, any of that stuff, or you just, want to keep me housed and fed, please consider joining the Patreon or the channel membership if you haven't done one of those things. The Patreon starts at $1 a month. The channel membership starts at $1.99 a month. You can get a 15% discount if you decide to pledge annually over on the Patreon. Both of them give you access to my Discord server. Both of them give you early access to scripted videos. So yeah, if you want to, you can pay less than $11 for a year of access to my server and to my early access videos. I don't know how I can make that a better deal for you, right? Because, I mean, there's a lot of stuff on there. There's like 6 months worth of videos in early access right now. The video I am making right now probably will not come out until like November at the earliest. So
He's way ahead.
yeah, like come hang out, come watch all my videos early.
I'm only 2 weeks ahead.
See, pathetic. Like you're not even trying.
I
I'm kidding. I know I'm a weird machine. Yeah, check that out. If that's not your thing, if you don't want to do a monthly or an annual pledge, there's lots of other options. I have a merch store that's linked below. I don't take draws from it very often because it usually doesn't have much in there, but like I will occasionally. Plus, it's just cool to represent. There's also you can get me stuff from my Amazon wishlist. I have an Amazon wishlist. Chesh also, I believe, has one. It should be at her channel. It's linked in the description.
do not have an Amazon wishlist anymore. I'm
Oh.
boycotting Amazon. I'm Canadian.
Fair enough. If you get a different wishlist, let me know. I'll put
I have a
links.
Throne one, but then you can send me anything that's on Throne. It's a little bit more expensive though.
Well, still, if you send me a link,
Listen,
will-
all I
will
want is you guys go check out my channel and check out Debate Hub, which is also my channel, and like and subscribe and leave me a comment.
Yeah.
There's always a bigot in there you can go bully if you want.
True. All right, so that is the fundraising thing, and I want to say thank you very much. Lieutenant Matt the Navigator has just gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. So let's take 5 drinks, shall we? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Drink down the neck.
All right,
Oh.
Ambi Quantum Yiddish Z for $2 says Booster Gold and Plastique are Canadians. Oh, okay.
I don't know about Plastique, but I did. I think I said Booster Gold. Yeah.
Yeah, you did actually. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Let's see. Terrador's final form for 200 Argentinian pesos says Subs is literally an illegal alien. He doesn't get birthright if he wasn't. He doesn't get birthright if he wasn't born in U.S. territory. That is true. If you're not born in U.S. territory, you don't generally get birthright citizenship.
I'm pretty sure Clark Kent just fudged his citizenship.
Well, just like Elon Musk.
Probably did a better job.
Terrador's final form for 100 Argentinian pesos this time says, Smallville Ice. Are you hiding in Enemies of the State, Mr. Kent? Man. Look, I didn't think it was a particularly good movie, but I gotta say, I think Brightburn is a more accurate idea of what would happen if an actual person came from Krypton and crashed in a farmhouse. Yeah, they would just be an absolute crazy psycho murderer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also a SA type person, because that's another thing that happened.
I do like that Clark Kent and Superman is an immigrant and an alien from a whole other planet, though, and he embodies the American dream.
And also lightly Jewish coded.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, because, the creator was Jewish, and there was a reason for that.
So Captain Canuck might actually... Sorry, I saw Jason mention Captain Canuck. Captain Canuck might actually be getting a new run because people have been super duper requesting it. So
Nice.
that we might get a fresh Captain Canuck.
Also, apparently, ONB, Alpine Octopi and Mountain Sharks at Club Himalaya is a big Brightburn fan. All right. Like I said, I didn't think it was great, but, I'm glad you did. I didn't hate it. I thought it was fine. It was, Anyway, here we go.
And here's another issue. DNA and proteins don't reproduce. How are you supposed to evolve DNA and proteins?
First of all, DNA absolutely reproduces. Every time a cell divides, DNA has to reproduce. I'm taking a drink. That might be one of the stupidest things anyone, including Ken Hovind, has ever said.
That's bad.
My God. So, second, protein evolves because the DNA evolves. Because the DNA codes for the protein, so if the DNA changes because of things like mutation, the protein will change. I don't know how much more obvious this could be.
Mr. Tisdall, how are babies born?
Right. This is like high school biology stuff. If you're 18 years old, you should understand the most basic bits of this. I have never had a creationist come on here and say DNA doesn't reproduce, Chesh. That is...
I think Dapper was not ready for how dumb this guy
No,
was
I was not. Also, when it comes to proteins, hey, remember prions? Those are proteins that reproduce, and then they cause mad cow disease. As well as other diseases, like Chagas disease. Yeah, so he's wrong on both counts there. Most proteins don't reproduce, I'll give you that, but some do, and DNA definitely does. That's kind of the main thing it does. That's why it's still around. Zarna Rankar for 2 Beaver Bucks says, what about Russian Superman, Hammer and Sickle?
Hey, Russian Superman's a thing?
Well, I mean, I don't remember it being a thing, but even if it is, it's not
It's
a Canadian
it's one
thing.
of the, it's like a spin-off what if-ish style comment where it's like, well, what if Clark Kent didn't land in America and he landed in Russia instead?
I see.
Because it was all being written during the Cold War.
Okay. Speaking of Russian stuff and things from outer space, if you have some time and you don't mind subtitles, watch Sputnik. It's a Russian sci-fi horror. Well, it's really more of a sci-fi thriller than a horror. It was excellent. I quite loved it. Basically, Vishanti and I watched it randomly one day. I was like, "Hey, you want to watch a spooky movie?" She was like, "Yeah, sure." So she just pulls up Shudder, and that's the first thing on there. She was like, "Just want to do this?" I'm like, "Yeah, whatever. I don't care. Let's just do it." Turns out, really good choice. Excellent movie. I loved it. Lieutenant Matt the Navigator for $5 says, house can't be built because hammers don't hammer nails. All right, here we go.
So evolution becomes very, englobes everything. See, this is the idea.
What?
They'll say,
I'm going to assume that englobes everything is some kind of weird, English fail on his part. I think he means, encompasses?
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Yeah, first of all, it doesn't. It only encompasses all of biology. It doesn't encompass, astrophysics or particle physics or chemistry or fluid flow or any other science.
Yeah.
And the Quantum Yiddish Z for $2 says Tisdall can pry on D's nuts.
Hey!
2 Godzillas, so we will take a drink. Thank you very much, Andy. Quantum Yiddish
Yeah,
Z.
we got a fucking D's nuts joke. Let's go.
Excellent.
Hell yeah.
All right.
Mm.
There we go. Oh, and by the way, we are now past the halfway point to Bent Gets Free Pizza.
Let's go.
Rail Gatabella for $2 says technically he landed in Ukraine. I mean, that's still the Soviet Union if the time frame is right.
Yeah, it should. Yes, I believe the time frame that he landed in would make it now, like current day Ukraine, at the time of his landing, Soviet Russia.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go.
Evolution
I.e.,
doesn't
Superman
talk
would be fighting Putin.
Yeah, probably.
about origin of, it doesn't talk about the origin of life.
Yeah, because biology, evolution is about biology. That's prebiotic
Correct.
chemistry. So yeah, a different set of theories would encompass that. Yep.
Hey, did he steal that art too?
So probably, but I don't recognize it.
Okay.
My guess is that this is from some kind of a textbook. But probably a very old textbook, because things like Age of Molecular Organization, Age of Prokaryotes, I wouldn't really expect to see that in a very recent book, because assigning things the age of and then like label is usually wrong. So
Yeah.
trying to move away from that idea. Like the age of reptiles. Well, lots of other things besides reptiles were around. In fact, many things outnumber the reptiles. So is it really the age of reptiles? No, not really.
That's hogwash. That's ridiculous.
That's just you stating that. Are you going to give us reasons, arguments, anything? Also, London
Hogwash. Ooh,
City
his
Church.
language.
Okay. I'm going to sneeze. Sorry about that.
Dapper didn't mute.
Yeah,
He's a professional.
I did mute, actually. I didn't mute on Discord, but I muted for the chat.
Okay, well, I'm drinking for it.
Okay, fair enough. Also, remember how I said he's in England? Yeah, London City Church. So he's in London City. Which is not the same as London, but like, yeah, okay.
All the textbooks talk about the origin of life. Darwin talked about the origin of life.
Barely, but yeah, it's an interesting topic that people want to talk about, right? Like, and it's connected to biology because it's the origin of life. So yeah,
I talk about the origin of life sometimes, but I also talk about the perfect breakfast.
right. It's like, oh, if your main thing is this one theory, you're not allowed to go outside of that theory about anything. No, that's not true. That's not how anyone operates.
Or like speculate or even engage in debate or conversation about other things.
Yeah, apparently not allowed. Lieutenant Matt the Navigator for $5 says no one ever.
What the hell is he doing?
Good point.
Besides
Matt...
being a fucking hypocrite. Sorry.
Yes. All right. Oh my goodness. So no one ever built a car because hammers don't drive bolts without sufficient application of roids. I would be interested to see someone roided out enough to actually be able to like torque down a bolt with a hammer. That would be interesting. That's why I'm actually not super opposed to like the chemically altered version of the Olympics, like the juiced games or something, where like you just let people just take as many supplements and performance enhancing whatever as they want, wreck their bodies, it's their choice, and then just see what happens.
I've heard two options. I've heard that we need to let one guy do all of the drugs,
Okay.
and also have one normal guy, and then the rest of the athletes.
Okay.
So, like, you have all of the athletes doing this, and people are commenting like they have any fucking clue what they're talking about. And then you have one guy who's, like, just an average guy where you just, like, draw lots. And it's just, like, from whatever country is hosting. So, like, the next Olympics is going to be America. So you'd have, like, supposedly is supposed to be America.
Supposed to be America. I don't know if that's going to happen.
Both FIFA and the Olympics are supposed to be held in America upcoming.
I don't recommend that.
I don't know if that's going to happen or if it's going to end up being boycotted or how much. Like it's not like the first time the world has boycotted the Olympics. We did it to Russia.
FIFA managed to do a World Cup in Qatar. And I'm sorry, but even as far as bad as the US is right now, it's not as bad as Qatar in terms of human rights. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I fully expect
FIFA doesn't care.
Yeah, FIFA doesn't give a shit. They'll still hold it.
But the athletes might care about traveling there.
That's true. That's true. But they cared about traveling to China and Qatar, so
Yeah.
it shouldn't happen. It probably will. Gringovaldi Gurnison for $5 says, Chesh, you look like your ideal breakfast is a can of Red Bull and whatever is in the fridge that doesn't require utensils. Is this accurate, Chesh?
Okay, I hate Red Bull. However,
Okay. But Monster maybe?
I definitely pre-boil eggs and put them in the fridge, and they do not require utensils.
Nice. Do you pre-peel them and put them in the fridge? Or do you put them in with the
No,
shell
I
on?
usually cook them and then throw them in the fridge. I also will throw a piece of like pea meal bacon onto a pan, and that also does not actually require utensils.
Hmm.
Neither do potatoes.
It depends on the kind of potato.
You don't have to use
Well, okay,
utensils.
by
but-
that definition, then nothing requires utensils, because you can eat it with your hands if you want to.
Yeah, but like mashed potatoes, you can do decently as long as they're not too hot. But like sometimes I'll just like take a potato and I'll cut a wedge out of it, put the wedge back where it came from, and then put it in the air fryer. And then I'll just have an air fried baked potato
Wait,
and just eat it
cut like a slit or like a wedge?
like a wedge. You cut the wedge, and then when you
Mhm.
take it out, you put a little bit of butter and salt, and then you put the wedge back, and then you just eat it.
Okay.
Also fork it. Make sure you fork it. It's really good.
Forking-
Doesn't take long. 20 minutes. Air fryer.
I've heard that spooning can lead to forking.
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Terrador's final form for 200 Argentinian pesos says, sorry, Kent, if dwarves are so great, why are they killed by the Balrog in Moria while goblins thrived? Oh, wait, no, I've skipped several. So first, Kent the Bacteria Kind Halstead for $4.99 says, dwarves are greater than goblins, sorry, not sorry. Then Gringovaldi Gurnison for $5 says, Chesh, that the breakfast. Then we get the Terrador's final form. Sorry, Kent, if dwarves are so great, why were they killed by the Balrog in Moria while goblins thrived? Good question. And then Lieutenant Matt the Navigator for $5 says, are you suggesting that Elon Musk represent Team All of the Drugs? Yes.
Yes, that would be great. I
I'll
feel
be
like
honest.
you need a couple of different all of the drugs. You need like all of the drugs that's just somebody that just does a lot of drugs, and then all of the drugs meaning like the person who's like been like steroided up to like perfection. You know what I mean?
You ever have one of those friends who notices that like if you're drunk or something will like encourage you to do bad things, and maybe you should get rid of that person because they're a really bad influence? You ever know someone like that?
I am that person.
Exactly. I would
me.
so be that person if I knew Elon Musk personally. I would wait until he's just off his ass on ketamine and be like, Elon,
You should
Elon,
do this.
you should get in the octagon. Just do it.
I think
right
that's
now.
what one of his ex-wives did when he bought Twitter.
Well, yeah, but no, I mean specifically get in the octagon, because I want to watch him get beaten into a tiny like blood stain on the surface of the octagon. I want to see that man
Fair.
physically destroyed by an MMA fighter.
I had somebody tell me that I had said something along the lines about Elon being a pain in the butt, and then somebody told me that like, oh, so like what is like where you're gonna deport him, but then like what, as long as we don't send him to you, Winky. Like they were joking because Elon's family has Canadian connections, and I was like, no, send him here. We're good at dealing with fascists.
Yeah, I mean, the United States used to be good at it. We had a history of being good at it. Just turns out that we decided to abandon all that. Anyway,
I decided today to remind everybody that
You
America
just talk
didn't
about
actually join.
speciation. And so you start 5 billion years ago, and you end up with men at the top, monkeys, and all kinds of things at the end. And
okay, so
Huh?
the thing that I don't like about
What?
how he's phrasing this is he's phrasing it as if it's some kind of mechanistic, deterministic thing. That if you just have a planet with some single-celled organisms, eventually you're going to get monkeys and humans, which is a little bit like saying you're going to eventually get mammals and dogs, but like whatever, who cares? But like, no, it's a contingent thing. Like, mutations are stochastic. Environmental changes are also to some degree stochastic.
There's 100% chance we will end up with monkeys because we have a sample size of 1.
Yeah, well, I mean, that is what happened in the past. But, like, if you were to rewind
Right.
that clock, there's no guarantee that that's what would happen again. But a better way to say it would be that, humans are the result of starting with single cellular organisms, 3.5 8 or 5 or whatever billion years ago. It'd be a better way.
No,
because
you
then
will eventually get crabs.
True. Both in terms of humans getting crabs and also in terms of crabs evolving.
Crabs being the ultimate life form.
Yeah. Here's a fun thing. Crabs are more closely related to gorilla lice than they are to human head lice.
Crab.
Life shows up only at the very end. Well, it shows up a little bit earlier, and now it's actually getting earlier and earlier now. This part that's here, just last month, has been moved back to here, which makes it really, really difficult, because it was already difficult to get a single cell at all, but try to get it earlier.
Wait, is he an old Earth creationist? Does he actually believe in these ages?
Has anybody looked up Tisdall's fucking credentials?
I have not.
Does he have any credentials? Does he even say he has any credentials?
Sure, his credentials are that he runs a ministry in Quebec.
But I'm just saying, all I'm saying is that it's really, really hard to keep up with this thing I don't understand. It's like, because you have no basis.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I actually have no idea if he has any valid credentials in anything remotely related to this.
Makes it
I'm
even
gonna
more
see if I can
improbable.
find out.
I think he might be an old Earth creationist. I've been characterizing him as a young Earth creationist, but he might actually be an old Earth creationist. Do you remember if the talk had stuff about like the age of the Earth and radiometric dating? Yeah. It did.
The one that I watched, I remember him having a really big issue with plate tectonics.
Weird.
Yeah, he had like this whole spiel about how plate tectonics is ridiculous because you can't push the amount of force it would take to lift one thing to push something else underneath it would be like an insane amount of energy that just isn't possible.
I mean, it is possible, but it's true that it is a very large amount. Joshua for $5 says, Dapper beat me to the crabs joke. Sorry about that, Joshua. Zara Narankar for 2 beaver bucks says, a single cell atoll? Is that what he said? I think he meant at all. But, like, you know, he's Quebecois. You got to give him, like, a little bit of a pass when it comes to English. Because the Quebecois are terrible at English.
Oh my god, Lawrence Tisdall is associated with the Creation Science Association of Quebec.
Yeah, we already said that. I read it out in French. That's his thing.
Creation Science Association of Alberta?
Oh no. Is there one in Ontario?
I see one for BC.
Oh. I'm gonna get Kip to go out there. Check them out.
Oh, organizations in Canada.
I'm gonna hit play.
So the mechanisms they have, as in every theory, they have mechanisms. Yeah. So the mechanism is
natural
selection and a mutagenesis. We'll see. So,
no, there's also drift, sexual selection, gene flow, niche partitioning, niche construction. Like, there's a lot of mechanisms that aren't just natural selection, and we'll get to mutation later. I'm gonna take a drink because creationists never actually bother to even name the various mechanisms of evolution past sometimes mutation and usually natural selection. There's a whole lot more. We've come a long way since Darwin. Lieutenant Math Navigator for $5 says, I used to work with a guy that was born in Paris, and I have it on good authority that the Quebecois are bad at French as well. So I'll say this, right? When you learn French, you generally learn Parisian French, and you usually learn a very formal version of Parisian French. And it makes it hard to understand French Canadians if that's what you've been trained to do in French, or if you're just a native like French speaker from France. They have a very, very heavy accent that can be tough to understand. It's not as bad as like the Cajun French down in Louisiana, but like it's tough.
It's like speaking English and going to talk to somebody from Newfoundland.
Oh, the damn Newfies. You should let them be the 51st state.
No, I wouldn't do that to them. They're great.
Fine.
No, they don't deserve that.
It's true, they don't deserve it. America
can have the portion of Alberta that actually like isn't native land, which is most of it.
Yeah.
Natural selection is the only known cause for adaptation.
Well, okay, but what about other Like, what about mutation? That's pretty important there, buddy.
Don't GMOs exist?
Yeah, but I mean that's an artificial process that I don't think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm
Fair
allowed
enough.
with just not. I'm fine with not
Okay.
counting that.
What if I grow roses and I change the pH of the soil and it comes up differently?
Well, that's
Does that count?
phenotypic plasticity, which I would not normally say counts as adaptation in the like evolutionary sense.
That's more of a chemical reaction.
Well, I mean, it's all chemical reactions, but in this case, it's phenotypic plasticity.
I found creations organizations in Canada. There's Creation Ministries International Canada. There's Creation Science Association of Alberta. There's Creation Science Association of British Columbia. Creation Science of Saskatchewan Inc. Creation Truth Ministries, and the Creation Ministries of Ian Juby.
Oh yeah,
So I guess-
Ian Juby.
Yeah.
You know what my favorite thing about Ian Juby is? So first of all, Ian Juby is a human, as far as I can tell, right?
As far as I can tell.
Right.
Sure.
He thinks that in order for internal fertilization to occur, the intromittent organ of the male has to exactly match the size and shape of the reproductive tract of the female. And he is a member of a species that has significant amounts of variability in the shape and size of both those things across individuals. And I don't know if you know this, but generally speaking, when people have fertility problems, it's not because the guy can't fit. It's not the most normal cause for fertility problems. But according to Ian Juby, it should be. Because unless you and your partner fit exactly in your measurements, you just can't have sex. You just can't, because apparently the vagina is actually made out of steel and has absolutely no flexibility to it.
This is causing me pain, but also I would like to point out that Riverside Cavalry Chapel has a video titled Answering 10 Objections to the Creation Model, listed Lawrence Tisdall, and it's from October 2022.
That might have to be our 8th video then.
It's an hour and 17 minutes long.
Well, this one's 55 minutes. Let's see. Rail Got to Bella for $5 says, Canadian French is actually phonologically closer to English. They actually have short vowels. Vite sounds like vit, not vite. So vit, yeah. I don't actually know enough, but I believe that seems plausible. I would have to look into it. So when I speak French, I don't use a Canadian accent that I'm aware of. I can usually understand it if I already know the words or they're speaking slowly, which is still not all that much. But yeah, I believe you. Kent the Bacteria Kind Halstead for $4.99 says Glasgow is damn near unintelligible to many native English speakers, so I guess that's an analogy. Yeah, that's actually not that far off. Is it Glasgowians? Is that the demonym for people from Glasgow? They're not easy to understand. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry, I found one from 2023, and it's all in French.
Okay, should we do that? I feel like we shouldn't.
No, but I did find a creation Wikipedia.
Oh, I'm gonna hit play, but that does sound interesting.
Yeah, I'll send it to you, but it tells us a little bit about him.
Oh, good. Is it in French also?
No.
Okay.
Parts of it are.
Oh.
But not the only known cause for evolution. Other non-adaptive causes for evolution include mutation and genetic shift. So it's going to be a combination.
Okay, first of all, genetic shift, that might be a French native language thing. It's usually genetic drift in English. I don't know what it is in French. I'm going to let that go, because look, I'm usually pretty generous to English as a second language speakers, because first of all, his English is very much better than my French. I think it's better than Chesh's French. So, But
Tisdall holds a Master of Science degree in micropropagation from McGill University and a bachelor's degree in agriculture, also from McGill. Well, from McDonald College,
so
in brackets, McGill University.
So he's a farming scientist.
He also contributed a chapter to a university textbook on micropropagation, quote, called Acclimatization Strategies for Micropropagated Plants in Micropropagation of Woody Plants.
I mean, that sounds interesting. And it also means that he should know better in many cases.
He should know, he should definitively know better when you're talking about genetic drift,
Yeah.
or if you're talking about any kind of evolution, because plants evolve too.
They do in fact evolve. People seem to forget. But let's see. We got a couple super chats here. O&B Alpine Octopi and Mountain Sharks at Club Himalaya for $5 says, Stan Smith, the vagina tough yet flexible. Our troops should be wearing them into combat. And there you go. New combat gear right there. Real Gatubella for $5 says, as a USian, I feel my accent in French should sound more Canadian. Speaking Paris French makes me look like Madonna speaking with a British accent. I mean, I guess you could make that argument, but like, no one bothers to teach like French, like Canadian French. But then I also do notice that like when I speak Spanish, I definitely sound more like I'm Mexican than I do sound like I'm from Spain. So like, and like when I consume Spanish language media, it's usually Mexico or other South American. Usually Mexican, but like otherwise, sometimes other countries that speak Spanish. That in this case would be in South America. Mexico is in South America, obviously. You guys get it.
I did see somebody ask if ministries are tax exempt in Canada. I can tell you that churches, I don't know about ministries specifically, I'd have to go looking. I can tell you that churches and Catholic schools are tax exempt, but that is something that was being heftily debated in our parliament before COVID. And it's kind of taken a backseat for the last handful of years, but it's still kind of popping around. So that might be something that is going away in the near future. Near, quote unquote.
Andrew asks if it's Mexican porn. No, that's generally not what I'm watching in Spanish. No, it's sometimes I'll watch a TV show that's either Mexican or some other Latin American Spanish-speaking thing, or maybe a movie, or even every once in a while just a YouTube video. I remember there was a couple days where I just went around looking for like Spanish language Young Earth creationist stuff to see if any of it was interesting, and it's less interesting than the English language Young Earth creationist stuff. It was just like the stuff I was finding sounded exactly like American English speaking Young Earth creationist content, but from like 20 years ago. I was like, all right, well, I just don't care at that point. Anyway, I'm going to hit play because I don't even know what we're going about here anymore. I lost track of everything.
Combination of natural selection, I'll explain what it is a little later, and of changes in the mutation code.
Changes in the mutation code. I think he means that mutations are changes in the DNA code, which is a sentence that might make a little bit of sense. I can't really attribute that to French being his native language, but like, whatever. He probably just misspoke. I don't think he actually thinks it's a mutation code.
And genetic shift means changes of the population genetic code, depending on...
That is an entirely... I'm taking a drink. That's a really bad definition. Genetic drift, which is what he means, are random changes to the allele frequencies of a population caused by the fact that reproduction is a stochastic event at the genetic level in terms of what alleles get passed on to which offspring, which means...
I need to piss.
Okay, bye. Which means that it is non-adaptive, and it does result in evolution anyway. So, yeah, that's what genetic drift is, and I'm okay with him calling it genetic shift, because again, whole language thing, it's fine.
Ecological niches. And if I've lost everybody already, oh well, it'll get easier. The directing principle of the creation theory is what? Is to explain the origin of the complexity. This is the vital difference. See?
No, it's not. Because here's the thing, right? There's some amount of minimal complexity that the first life to exist would have had, but any subsequent complexity, of which there is a lot, would in fact be explained by evolution. So evolution explains the arrival of novel complexity in life. Sure, there's some amount of complexity that isn't explained by the theory of biological evolution. Okay, great. Oh, I missed a what did I miss? Oh, I did. Robert Madewell who's been a member for 49 months since at the amniote level says he doesn't have a PhD from a double wide. If he doesn't have a PhD from a double wide, he is not a proper young Earth creationist. That's a good point. Yeah. Your PhD does have to come from a double wide. Remember when you looked into getting a degree from Patriot Bible University?
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Yeah. All right, everybody. If we get to 100,000, I open a Canadian McDonald's. But if we get to 50,000, Chesh will go get a degree from Patriot Bible University.
I think I was going to do, psychology and social work?
Something like that. Yeah, you had a whole plan. What was it that stopped it? It was just expensive? Is that what it was?
It was expensive, and they wanted me to have a pre-existing degree, which I clearly do not have.
I mean, you could have just asked me.
At least
for
that's
a
what
degree.
they said on their website. I could probably get around it.
You could have asked me for a degree. I'd give you a degree.
Oh,
it's just as valid as their degree. Here, Chesh,
fair.
here's a degree in doctorology. There you go. You got a degree now.
I keep meaning to write and self-publish a children's book just so I can throw it in people's faces when they're like, "Well, I've written a book," and I'll be like, "Ooh."
Just do it. Zarna Renkar for 2 beaver bucks says Chesh lacks normal social graces when she's tipsy.
I don't have normal social graces normally. I was just waiting until I was free.
Which also
it has
means
nothing to do with the booze.
That you also don't have them when you're tipsy.
Correct.
Okay. But also, that's what the break is for. It's for going to pee.
Well, I also went and pissed during the break, but I needed to pee again.
A bigger
because
bladder.
I drank a tea right before drinking a bunch of beer.
You need a bigger bladder. All right, guys. We're going to start a GoFundMe for Chesh to get a bigger bladder.
Fucking just plug me in, bro.
I mean, it looks like the current king of the former United States might just have a catheter.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Once you can wrap your head around this is the key.
Okay, here we go.
The key to talking about origins.
Mm-hmm.
We do not need to explain the changes within a species. God.
Actually, you do, because you accept that they occur.
Depends on what you mean by need. I need to eat. I need to piss. I don't need to know the average velocity of an unladen swallow.
Wait, African or European?
Well, good question. But maybe that information can be useful for different things. So maybe I do need to know which type of swallow I'm talking about. Depends on the question I'm asking and what my desire is and what the related need might be. If I need to understand about biological diversity because it helps me produce better food because I need to eat, there's a delineation you can follow down.
Right, but what he's doing is he's trying to replace the principal theory of all of biology with his own ideas, which means he needs to explain all of the things that evolution explain more things, and be able to actually have tests between his idea and evolution where we can tell the difference based on the experiment, and where his idea is the one that isn't rejected. Which means he does need to explain that, because evolution can explain it, and if he can't, he doesn't have a theory that's in competition. Lieutenant Matt the Navigator for $5 says, do you have a printer? It's where Carl Baugh's degrees came from. Yeah, so do you know that Carl Baugh's degrees are actually faker than Kent Hovind's degrees? You might, it seems hard to believe that that's even possible, right? But here's the difference. Carl Baugh started his own fake university and then gave himself his own fake degree from his own fake university. That's faker than Kent Hovind. Kent Hovind at least went to someone else's fake university and asked them for a degree.
Yeah, at least in Kent Hovind's case, you could make an argument that he didn't know better or was scammed.
For $2, ONB, Alpine Octopi, and Mountain Sharks at Club Himalaya says, boxers or briefs for streaming? Depends. With a little baby in a diaper emoji. Very nice.
Listen, just get better at sounding, get a tube, straight no bottle.
Jeez. I think this is the first time we've talked about sounding on this channel. So there you go, everybody.
Oh my god, you're so welcome.
God said they reproduce after their kind. So
what's the kind? Everyone say it. What's the kind? Put it in the chat.
What's a kind?
We're all in agreement of all the, what's a kind?
Oh, he said it.
We're not.
He even said it.
We're not.
I'm going to take a drink because he said it. I count that as a prediction.
Yeah.
a wolf,
We're all in
a
agreement.
fox,
What's a
a
kind?
dog, a jackal,
Are those in a kind?
coyote. Those are all the same kinds.
How do you know?
Are they?
Yeah, I don't know that. How do you know that? Is the dole in that kind? It has a different chromosome number and a different number of nipples.
Are humans with more or less chromosomes no longer humans?
Yeah. I mean, how do we know? What about the tanuki? It's got giant balls. Does that make it a different kind?
No, bring back the balls.
It had to come back around to balls. You know, it's like a
So
circle.
do they
they
have
rhyme.
a? Okay, hold on. Can I talk for just a second?
I guess it's going to be about balls.
Yes.
Okay.
Remember earlier at the beginning of this, he presented his 2 black balls and he said they both have a white dot on it, and
Only one
one
did.
had a white dot that was bigger, but now it's smaller, and one had a bigger dot one's got
Sure.
a smaller dot that got bigger. How does he know he didn't just get them opposite?
I don't know.
And nothing about these balls ever changed, and he's just crazy.
I mean, he seems crazy right now, so there is that.
Well, I mean, yes, but like this is like about a tactile thing that he's holding on to in his hands. They're his balls. And he keeps passing around to everybody. But if the balls, he describes one ball as it used to have a dot that was bigger that got smaller, and the other one is a ball that had a dot that was smaller that got bigger. How does he know that they're not just opposite and they're both fine and nothing changed about them at all?
I don't actually remember him saying that the spot got bigger on one of them.
I thought that's what he said. That
Don't
one got
remember
bigger
that?
and one got smaller.
Maybe. Kent, the bacteria kind Halstead for $4.99 says Tisdall is the kind of guy who skips the opening tram ride, and it's amazing environmental storytelling. It's only 2.5 minutes, guys. For sake.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
We both might be, because this is crazy. Also, all of Zoolander's looks are exactly the same look.
They're all the same look!
Yeah, Blue Steel, the Tigre, it's the same thing.
They're the same thing. Magatu is right.
Yeah. Except maybe about the whole assassination thing.
I don't know. Didn't we have a conversation on the pub about political assassinations?
We did, and that guy in no way met the proposed criteria for an acceptable target for an assassination.
That's true.
Yeah, so.
They all descend from a common ancestor, wolf-type ancestor that was on the Ark.
How do you know that? Because here's the thing, right? I agree that they all came from a common ancestor, and that ancestor probably was... Actually, I think it was probably more fox-like than it was wolf-like in terms of its size and social structure. But that's neither here nor there. That's not terribly important. But how do we know that? And the thing is that the way we know that is by looking at things like genetics and morphology, and to a lesser degree, fossils. But when you do that, there's no reason to say that bears and seals and weasels and dogs didn't have a common ancestor. And when you get to that point, then there's no reason to say that those animals and cats and civets and mongooses didn't have a common ancestor. And at that point, there's no reason to say that those animals and pangolins didn't have a common ancestor. Or that those animals and horses and cows and whales didn't have a common ancestor. Right? Because we use the exact same kinds of evidence to figure out common ancestry among canids as we do among canoids. That's the group that includes bears and otters and whatnot, as well as dogs. Or all of carnivorans, which includes the cats and whatnot. Or all of ferungulata, which is the pangolins and the horses and the cows and the whales and whatnot, right? We use the exact same kind of evidence the whole way down. And any place that you put the cutoff is going to fundamentally be arbitrary. Because the evidence is no less compelling above or below. Goop23 for $2 says, what about the Tanuki? I think they run stores. I have heard that they run stores. Also, apparently, they have built-in parachutes.
They will also bust your balls.
With their own, because they're gigantic. Zarna
Yeah.
Connor for $5 beaver bucks says, Tanuki can also change into people and objects. How does that factor in? I don't think it does. What about other yokai? Tanukis aren't actually yokai, though. They're actually just animals that have traditional mystical elements piled on top of them. Like the umbrella with an eye and a foot. That one now, yeah, I don't know how that would fit into the story of evolution, the umbrella yokai. What about the lantern yokai? That's fun, too.
Maybe yokai don't evolve. Maybe yokai just are in, like, properly created creatures.
You know, I did hear someone argue somewhat persuasively that actually Pokemon are more like yokai than they are like animals. And
They're literally called pocket monsters. Yes, that was the intention.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Even though a lot of them in the cartoon do just act like the regular animals of the world,
Yeah,
and they
because
don't seem to be regular
main
animals.
design, the main key design to Pokemon, like aesthetically, is there's like a couple of different ones, but the main one that you're referring to is an animal with a special feature.
Mhm.
So like Pikachu is a mouse, but the special feature is the lightning tail and the red cheeks.
Yeah.
Right? That's it. Right? So like, I don't know, Roggenrola. Roggenrola is a rock with like an eyeball looking thing. He's got 2 little feet and a little dangly on his head. Like, and his eye thing isn't even an eye, it's an ear, but it doesn't matter. It's like just a rock with special feature. Right? So there's like a good number, like Snubble. Snubble is just a dog that's pink.
You're really animated about the design elements in Pokemon.
Don't get me started.
Okay.
I'll go forever. There's like a lot of like animal styled Pokemon that are
Where
like
we
that.
say you have to have a creator is the origin of things. How do you get the first cell? How do you get the first wing? How do you get the first eye?
Get your wings in the chat, first of all. How do you get the first cell? Well, that's actually a question. That's a good question.
How dare you? Sorry, go ahead.
And we don't have a great answer to that. How you get the first eye is basically you need to have the proteins that react to light. And fortunately, the light proteins that, oh goodness, now I know what they're called, but now I'm like blanking on it. But anyway, those light receptive proteins, those proteins that actually respond to different wavelengths of light, are in a large class of proteins that do all sorts of stuff. And some of those proteins don't normally interact with light, but when they do, they actually do change state. And so all that you actually need to do to get the first eye is to have proteins that react to light, which already accomplished. Many proteins just coincidentally react to light. And then you need to have any kind of biochemical signal that only triggers when those proteins have changed state. And that can just be a random event that happens. You have a different protein that triggers something, which causes the cell to react in a way. Once you get to that point, you now have photosensitive cells that actually interact with light. Boom, natural selection can take off. Why would natural selection care about this? Well, because things like regulating circadian rhythms can be helped by knowing how bright it is. And then you can do things like, if you concentrate these cells at a particular location, well, now, not only can you tell how bright it is, but you can also tell roughly what direction the light's kind of coming from, which can be useful if something swims by, maybe over you, because that can signal that maybe there's a predator, which can create like a burrow or a flea kind of response from an organism. And
There's
from
more
there
than
on,
one type of eye on the planet.
Also
Grow
true.
up.
Also true. How do you get the first wing? Well, you start with something that isn't a wing, and then it starts to take on an aerodynamic function, and it evolves to further optimize aerodynamic functioning. It can be
There's
an arm,
more
it can be an
than
extension
one
of the
type of
exoskeleton.
wing,
Also true.
though.
But all of them have in common that some body part started to have an aerodynamic function, whereas it didn't before.
Yes, but you have wings that let you swim better. They have wings that let you fly better. They have wings that are done for feathers. They have wings that are done with flesh. Like that's just skin stretching out the same way that also sometimes skin stretching out lets you swim better also.
Flesh is
So
a weird
it's
word.
like you can have like a bat that's got like that stretched out piece of flesh, right? You don't have to have like these winged specifically flying in the air to have a wing, quote unquote.
It turns out there's actually lots of ways to get most things for the first time in a lineage.
There's
which
more
is
than one way
why-
to skin a cat.
Although I would
Dogs.
prefer...
There are dogs that have more or less webbed feet.
True. I generally prefer to start with like an incision starting roughly at like the top of the sternum, then going down to like the groin, and then you cut two slices across the groin and across the shoulder blade, like around the scapula,
Mwah.
and then you just kind of pull it open, and you deglove the limbs and other extremities, and you don't need to keep the tail, just chop the tail off, who cares? That's how I would prefer to skin a cat.
Also, how dare you, Alex, call me out on my Pokemon knowledge? I will harken back really quick to the very first Pokemon original handbook,
Ooh.
in where Pikachu is listed as the mouse type Pokemon. He is not a rat. How dare you?
I think Andrew was surprised that I actually had a preferred method for skinning a cat.
Yeah, apparently.
I could just see how this Macy cat is not happy with you. I mean, look, I'm not saying I have or would skin a cat, but if I had to skin a cat, I know how I would probably go about doing it. Right? It's sort of
Sometimes
like,
it's necessary knowledge.
yeah, like,
Especially when you live in a third world country. You don't know what you're going to end up with.
also, hey, fun fact, that's how I would skin most animals that I would ever have to skin. Like tetrapods, at least. Because it's a convenient way to skin a tetrapod.
How do you get any of these systems?
We just explained it, dude. The fact that you don't know just means you haven't looked into it, right? Like, none of these things, eyes, wings, none of this is actually unknown or complicated. In fact, it's so easy to get them that we happen to know that most of them have evolved more than one time, right? Like, wings have evolved at least 4 times, right? And that's not counting flying fish. Not counting, or flying squid for that matter. I'm not counting either of those because they don't technically fly, they glide. But it's happened in insects, it's happened in pterosaurs, it's happened in bats, and it's happened in birds.
Yeah,
4
insects
times.
are a total field of wing.
When it comes to eyes, it's happened way more than that. It's happened at least a couple times just in arthropods. It's happened in vertebrates. It's happened in mollusks. It's actually probably happened more than once in mollusks. It's happened in freaking jellyfish. Right?
Tisdall's just mad he doesn't have wings and he can't fly.
He might be. And I mean, I don't blame him. Zarna
Yeah,
Rampar for 2
really
Beaver
cool.
Bucks says, can Chesh prove she's not just stretched flesh? Winky face.
There is definitely an image out there that would make it difficult for me to prove otherwise.
See. Do people have to pay extra for that one?
No,
Okay.
that's in the Discord.
Just... Well, guys, we are at the point where it is time to start wrapping things up here. Chech, what are you coming up on either of your channels or your appearances on other channels that you want people to know about?
So Friday is going to be Top Hats Off, Star Trek, and so I will be producing, arting, and captaining over there for Star Trek TTRPG stuff. As for Debate Hub, there is going to be a very long premiere of the Charlie Kirk stuff that I've been sort of futzing around with, but I definitely recommend checking that out. I did a takedown of Jordan Peterson. I also did a takedown of the current U.S. ambassador to Canada, Pete Hoekstra, which I absolutely recommend. I think I did a very good job on that, so I definitely recommend you check out that one. Yeah, I'm also doing a newer show, which is just like a chill out Monday show as per popular demand. So if you want to just hang out and get to know me a little bit, that will be on Mondays. Other than that, I'm just around. I'm just around. You can find me doing nonsense all over the place.
All right. Well, let's see. First, over on this channel, we've got on Thursday, we've got a new video coming out. Well, I mean, been in the can for a while, but it's new to you guys. It is Homo Stupidus, the movie. It is a long video with Brian Thomas talking about human evolution. It is 2 hours, 18 minutes, and 43 seconds long. So if you decide to show up for that on Thursday, maybe bring a snack and maybe a beverage. That'll be starting at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. On Friday, like Chess said, at 5 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, we are going to be doing Star Trek Adventures. We're going to be doing Entropy's Demise Part 2. I need to make a thumbnail for that. I keep not doing that. Anyway, Chesh, yell at me at some point. Not right now. Not on there. Just yell at me later about that. Let's see. Where was I? Then
I sent you a picture. Can you put it up on screen at the end?
I might be able to.
I also have a gift.
Oh.
But I'll wait until you're done.
Okay. So that is on that Saturday. Now, I had previously said that Saturday was going to be the second episode of the Billy Carson series that we're doing on Top Hat. Or sorry, not Top Hats Off. On Dapper Reacts. That was because I forgot that Saturday is, in fact, the time for the birthday special. So, in fact, I was wrong about that. Instead, we are doing a birthday special. And so that will involve, I will send out an invite to a whole bunch of people. I'm sure not all of them will be able to show up, and that's fine. So that will be Saturday. That's going to start at the normal time. So it's going to be noon, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. That will go for a while. I have a video to respond to that I've already set up. It is Christina Altman, someone who has not been on this channel for a very long time. She is, in fact, the zookeeper over at Answers in Genesis. So
That's exciting.
Yeah, so they do this thing where they host like a creationist tour group at the Galapagos Islands, right? And so if you pay a whole bunch of money to go to the Galapagos Islands to have basically morons tell you lies about biology while in the Galapagos Islands. And there are various talks that occur at this, apparently, and she's given one of these, and that's the video that we're going to cover. So yeah, that's going to be a long thing. I'm planning about 6-ish hours.
That sounds like...
Yeah, it's going to be pretty painful. Basically, what I'm going to do is we're either going to go until we're just done with the video or 6 hours, whichever one comes first. So,
Sure.
which will probably be the 6 hours, because you guys know how it is. We just spent 2 hours and we went through less than 8 minutes of this. So, you know. Then on Tuesday,
We're gonna be here
it should
forever.
be Matt with Maddie. I do have to double check with Maddie, but I believe she's okay. So there is that. And then on the next thing is just the next video that I have coming up. So yeah, that is what's coming up in the next week or so. And I have been given an image that I'm supposed to show you guys from Cheshire.
Me.
Yes, I'm just trying to talk and also
Let me
add
know when
the
it goes on
thing.
screen, and I will give you my surprise.
Okay. I have to find it. It's a whole thing, right? I have to import it into OBS and whatnot. So like, it's a bit of a thing.
Does OBS not let you click and drag for an image?
I don't. Maybe it does. I just don't know. But there, it's on screen.
I got a recorder.
Nice. All right. Well, with that,
I asked
everyone.
Dapper what I
Okay.
should learn, so I learned some of the Zelda music, and I'm working on it.
Is that what that was for?
Well, that's what I was asking about. Yeah.
Okay.
So I got a couple. I've been working on like the Song of Time and the Song of Storms and stuff, and I'm getting better.
Nice.
I'm getting better. So I'm way less pitchy now, but some of the notes on this thing is way more able to do way more notes than I ever thought I was able to do. But it's definitely 1 off key and 2 from the dollar store.
Okay. All right. Well, guys, that is it for today. I am going to be over on the Discord server. We're going to be watching episodes 9, 10, 11, and 12 of Season 1 of Power Rangers Beast Morphers, if you're interested in that. I think it's one of the better seasons that the show has had. So, I hope to see all of you on Thursday. And, yeah, say bye, Chash.
Hey, before you leave, I just want to take a second to thank my patrons and channel members, especially those pledging $20 or above. Ben Tovind, Tapioca Weasel, Whispers, Eleron Teller, Phil Rivara, Ian Chen, Kelvin Brostek Van Manen, Landon Knoll, Mabbity Babbity, Sphincter of Doom, Wallace, Max Cherry, North Texas Fossils, John Ackerman, and Tapioca Weasel. It's because of my channel members and patrons whom you're seeing on screen that this channel can stay afloat. Without you, it would all shut down. If you want to join the team, there's a link to join the channel below this video, and there's a link to join the Patreon in the description. On the Patreon, you can get a 10% discount for pledging annually, and either way, you get early access to virtually all of my scripted videos, often 3 to 5 months before they come out for the general public. Thanks for watching.